CNN interviews residents of Chicago after 58 people were shot and 8 murdered this Labor Day weekend, and asks them how they would feel about Donald Trump sending in the National Guard, and their answers are pretty shocking. You would think that with Chicago being in the national spotlight right now, and Illinois Governor J.B. Pritzker and Chicago Mayor Brandon Johnson declaring that crime is under control so the National Guard would be unnecessary, you would think they would be doing everything they possibly could to prevent a tragedy like this from happening and proving Donald Trump right. As always, like the video and subscribe to the channel, but here's a video from Chicago this weekend of a kid's football game getting shot up and everybody having to lay on the ground to dodge bullets.
In Chicago, everybody gotta get down. Everybody gotta get down because they shoot. Everybody down. Look, these kids are running. They shooting. We can't have no fun in Chicago, man. No fun, man. This is terrible. I'd have throw a goddamn flag. Cause this y'all neighborhood.
This might be over with, because I gotta figure this out, man.
Every privileged liberal protesting Donald Trump sending in the National Guard has never in their life experienced a moment like that. These are kids we're talking about, and they can't put their ideological differences with Donald Trump to the side to protect them. The majority of the people getting terrorized and having their communities destabilized are black people. But once again, the Democrats are completely disregarding the concerns of the very people they claim to be standing for in favor of the establishment's preferred agenda. All of the Democrats opposing Donald Trump make the claim that we don't need troops. What we need is more social programs, more after-school programs, more behavioral therapists, more investment in the community. But they don't even understand that none of those things can thrive unless crime is taken care of first. I mean, look at the video I just showed you. It's kids outside playing football, being positive, and they can't even do that because of the violence surrounding them. More after-school programs won't matter if people are just going to shoot up the after-school programs. No businesses are going to open there if the day they open their shelves are robbed clean. You have to take care of crime first, and to avoid that is doing a massive disservice to the communities that it hurts. But despite 58 real people getting shot and 8 real people dying over the weekend, MSNBC is still saying Trump sending in the Guard completely unnecessary.
Governor Pritzker has said they don't want federal intervention. You heard the same from Mayor Johnson there. But how do you square that when you have 50 people shot over just one weekend? Does that make that case harder?
No, it doesn't necessarily make the case harder, because I would expect that wherever you go, if there were military troops on the ground and at corners, yeah, you're going to see a change. But going to the voters' comment, that elderly couple, is this the kind of permanent solution that we should be talking about as for the future of our country? What kind of society are we going to give to our children and grandchildren where we have this military force on our streets? That is not a permanent solution. And crime has gone down in most major cities. Nobody's cheering for any crime that takes place. But there are ways to do this. The partnerships that take place between federal, state, and local governments that have always in place could certainly be strengthened. The funding that's given to violence intervention.
So he's admitting that the troops would have a positive benefit, but he's saying, no, we can't do that because the well-to-do, comfortable white liberals in Chicago would feel uncomfortable, and fighting Donald Trump is fashionable in their social circles. But despite being front and center to the brutal reality of the crime problem in Chicago, some black residents, unable to escape the Democrat plantation, unable to see the Democrats' true disdain for them, have drinking the Kool-Aid.
We're in Chicago's most violent neighborhood as far as rates of shootings go. And even though we have seen decreases, people are still tragically getting shot and killed. We're on our way to talk to a woman who's lived in this neighborhood for a long time, and I have a feeling she has some thoughts on this whole National Guard possibility.
My grandkids can't sit outside. They can't sit in the living room or at the kitchen table because a bullet may come through.
Rochelle Sykes has lived in West Garfield Park all her life. Her neighborhood's changed. President Trump has talked about sending in the National Guard to help with this situation.
That's not the solution.
So even you live in what is known to be the most violent neighborhood in the city in terms of shooting rates.
Mm-hmm.
You don't believe the National Guard should be here?
No, we don't need a Band-Aid to cover up the problem. What we need is a solution. No offense to the president, but we actually need someone that's in this community. You need to go and talk to the children in the schools and ask them the question, what would make you feel safe?
Last week, I posted a video of CNN interviewing Chicago residents, and they were saying that they wanted the National Guard. So part of me feels like this interview is contrived PR to battle that narrative, because how can this lady possibly say, my kids can't go outside, they can't sit at the kitchen table, they can't sit in the living room because bullets might come flying through the window, but yet you don't think National Guard should be deployed? If she's being genuine, she is what I'm sure a lot of other black conservatives run into when talking to other black people, which is a vote blue no matter who Democrat whose loyalty was established post-civil rights. There are some black people that you can talk to, present every fact to them, have a real conversation, come to an agreement. You can get them to admit that the Democrat Party doesn't care about black people, have ruined the lives of black people, but they'll refuse to vote Republican because there's something that's just ingrained in them that tells them to vote Democrat. Because how can a normal person accept such abject terror and danger and think that military presence, however uncommon, wouldn't be far safer? But here's another resident that they interview singing the same tune. Yeah, crime's a serious problem, but nah, we need more social programs.
And people like Kendall Reed, who also works as a violence mediator, refuses to give up on Chicago.
Send mental health in. Open more facilities for us. Give us more opportunities. Stop closing the school down. Send those people in. Don't send the military in. If what we're doing is working, it may not be working as fast as you would like it to work. None of this all happened overnight. Chicago is a beautiful city. I want my kids, and I want my grandkids, and I want my nieces and my nephews to enjoy these parks. I want them to enjoy the museums, the many things that Chicago has to offer, and we're progressing at that.
For Said,
this is a calling for me.
The fate of his city, he says, won't come from boots on the ground, but ears to the ground.
I would never say that it's not beneficial for the government to send resources and help. I beg President Trump to send the right resources, but as far as sending a National Guard, I believe that it will put us in a situation where the whole city of Chicago will be right back where we started.
The unfortunate part about people like this, and they may not be intentionally doing it, is they're grifting off the violence in their community. How many billions were donated to BLM, and what happened? The founders laundered the money and enriched themselves. How many social programs were opened? How many community centers were opened? What benefit have black people seen from the tremendous amount of money that was poured into supposedly fixing their plight? These guys want federal dollars to go to the city so the city can give them money to run these nonprofit youth organizations. Democrats are offering up every solution except for the most obvious, effective, and instantaneous one. I even concede to the Democrats, in an ideal world, it's not favorable to have troops walking the streets. America, being the proud and great country that it is, should have the safest and cleanest streets in the world, where it is unconscionable that we would have to even fathom sending in the National Guard on our streets. But unfortunately, that is not the reality. The reality is starkly different. And the problem for J.B. Pritzker and Mayor Brandon Johnson is while they're having 58 shootings and 8 murders in a weekend, the mayor of D.C. just signed an executive order to extend federal cooperation because it's working so well.
Well, he's obviously very focused on Chicago, and as he confirmed in the Oval Office, they do intend to go in. He did not reveal to me when they intend to go in, but it's certainly going to happen. That's number one. Number two, he doesn't think much of Pritzker or the mayor of Chicago, frankly, and had several insults for them. Number three, he believes what he did in Washington, D.C., has been a brilliant success. And he's familiar with the statistics on the number of people who've been arrested, the amount of illegal guns that have been taken off the streets here, the immigration enforcement that's gone on in Washington. And so I gathered that he sees that as a template for rapid reduction in crime in places like Chicago. And I would just note while we've been sitting here that the mayor of Chicago, of Washington, D.C. has apparently signed an order welcoming federal law enforcement presence indefinitely in Washington. And she has said that it's working. And she has said that she appreciates the surge of federal resources.
See, the problem with Democrats is they're not practical. They're not logical, they're not rational, and therefore they're not effective. They have this weird obsession with being seen as compassionate because it makes them feel better than everybody. Compassion towards people who have no regard for human life isn't compassionate to the law-abiding citizens who live around them. But Donald Trump played Illinois Governor J.B. Pritzker and Chicago's Mayor Brandon Johnson like a fiddle. Trump knew when he said he was going to clean up crime in Chicago, he was playing to a very popular sentiment that crime in big cities is way too prevalent. And he knew the instinctive reaction from Illinois' politicians was going to be to oppose it. And Trump put them in a losing position where they're having to lie and say that crime is under control. And Trump knew an unfortunate weekend like the one that just occurred was bound to happen and make Pritzker and Brandon Johnson look like complete fools. Here is Joe Scarborough from Morning Joe even saying J.B. Pritzker needs to call Donald Trump up to work with him.
Even Trump's harshest critic, Joe Scarborough, urged Governor Pritzker to team up with Trump on deploying the National Guard to Chicago.
I actually think that J.B. Pritzker should do something radical. I think he should pick up the phone, call the president, let's partner up. These are the most dangerous parts of my state. We would love to figure out how to have a partnership, because right now, just hey, nothing to see here moving along. No problem here. Hey, Donald Trump, we don't need you. And, the mayor talking about we're going to protect people's dignity in our city. We'll protect their lives.
Trump offered to help. J.B. Pritzker said no. 58 people got shot, and J.B. Pritzker is still saying it's unnecessary. This is a losing, unpopular issue. I don't care what manufactured street interview CNN wants to put forward. You saw the video of everybody ducking at the football game. Those are the real people in Chicago who have to deal with this. And they may not even want National Guard troops, but they certainly don't want J.B. Pritzker and Brandon Johnson to ignore the problem entirely. But that is certainly what the Democrats are going to do. This last clip I'm going to show you is absolutely insane. The future of the Democrat Party is screwed. Here's a young woke liberal running for Congress in Illinois saying that the crime problem is manufactured and not real, right after being shown a poll that 81% of Americans believe that it is.
Kat, do you think that this issue could be a political loser for Democrats opposing Donald Trump and his offer of federal intervention? Given that you look at some of the recent polling just today from the AP, and a majority of Americans, right, left, Republican, Democrat, do believe that crime is out of control in urban cities, and around 64% support some kind of federal intervention. They may not support what Trump is doing, and they may not like troops on the ground, but they support the idea of being tougher on crime.
What we've seen in cities across America, including Chicago, is that crime is actually down. But you have people on the right, including Trump, including Fox News, that are pushing narratives that crime is up so that way they can consolidate their own power. And that includes ICE. And I can guarantee that the majority of people in Chicago don't want masked goons coming into our community, kidnapping our neighbors off the street, and essentially just being able to do whatever they want without identifying themselves.
So Democrat pretentiousness strikes again. They're going to completely ignore what the voters are telling them is important and instead disregard it and say it's all in your head, it's imaginary. She thinks she's the good person after 58 people got shot, 8 got murdered, and she has the nerve to say crime isn't a problem, it's just MAGA propaganda. The Democrats are so out of touch, they just refuse to listen to people, and that's why they're so unpopular. Donald Trump can't make people feel like crime is high, just like Democrats can't make them feel it's low with their statistics they love to offer. People feel what they feel about crime because they live in the real world. And Democrats either live in a delusional world where Trump's just wrong because he's Trump, or they live in their gated community the ivory towers where crime isn't a problem for them. So therefore, it's not a problem for anybody. The Democrat Party is getting infiltrated with woke TikTokers who think being a politician means being a celebrity and talking about how bad Donald Trump is. And when they occasionally have to talk about policy, they throw out some socialism because, you know, they learned it in a college textbook. But there's no help. There's no solution for a party like that. That can be shown statistics that prove that they're on the losing side, the 20 side of this issue, and will still defend why they're right and why everybody else is wrong. But let me know what you guys think down in the comments section below. If you enjoyed the video, make sure you hit that like button. Make sure you subscribe to the channel if you haven't already. Turn on those notification bells so you never miss a video. And I will see you guys in the next one.